Laughing Vikings Live. High vibe chats with actors, comedians, and creators, plus stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and most importantly, you. That's right, join us every Monday for new episodes, and you can be a part of the show on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Ask questions and interact in the comments, and make sure to share this with your actor, comedian, and creator friends so they can be a part of the show too. Can't make a live show? No problem. You can catch up on your favorite podcast platform and visit laughingvikings.com to find out how you can join the cast and crew. All right, it's time for today's show. Buckle up and make sure you stick around to the end because we have a special surprise for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Laughing Vikings Live. Happy Monday Fun Day. Let's go. Oh, hey there. Is this thing on? It's on? Oh, this thing's on. I didn't even realize it was on. Looks like we're podcasting. It must be Monday at 6 p.m. because we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and we're doing this. We're broadcasting? Yeah, we're broadcasting.
Ooh.
What does that mean? What's broadcasting? Sounds bloody. Bloodcasting?
It sounds like something from Osmosis Jones.
Welcome to the Bloodcast.
Oh, God. At the end, we'll perform a ritual sacrifice.
That's the name of a very popular vampire podcast called the Bloodcast.
Ooh.
Yes.
That could be part of the zombie vampire movie.
Could be, yes. Welcome to the Bloodcast. Vampire's favorite podcast, the Bloodcast. We have established that all vampires talk like that, yes. like the Count from Sesame Street. That would have been good if all the vampires in Twilight just talk like that for some reason.
Oh my God, yeah. That would have made Twilight so much more interesting.
Bella, I want to suck your blood. Oh, it's like an animal hunger. I want to tear my teeth into your veins. I feel like they might not have been as popular.
I disagree. I think it would be more popular.
Well, we'll have to settle this on another podcast because everything we're talking about right now was not at all planned. We do have a topic today. That topic is indeed 7 ways that actors can stay in the game. What game, you ask? The acting game. A lot of times actors, obviously the end goal is to be on stage, on set as much as possible and to be in the game, paid, hopefully. But there's a lot of other things that you can be doing in that downtime that contributes to your success in your career and in life in general. So we're going to be talking about some of that stuff today. It's going to be a good one. Make sure you stick around to the end too, because we've started a tradition of giving away prizes at the end, but only if you make it all the way to the end. Be sure to maybe take some notes. And if you're watching this live right now in the comments, let us know what city you're watching from. And also anytime, throw up some comments, ask us a question, send us some feedback. If you think something we've said is outrageous and you completely disagree with it, throw it in the comments too. And we'll either block you and delete you forever, or we'll bring it up and be a part of the show. It's your choice.
Yeah.
Depends on how offensive it is. Generally, we're quite inclusive here. So we'll bring it up and we'll debate it. Something that we also want to do here too, in response to the recent events in Kamloops, and also to honor Indigenous Month here in Canada. We've done this at some live shows before, but we want to start doing it on the podcast and in our live shows as we start doing live shows as things open up. And that's a little acknowledgement of the original land rights here. So we want to say at the beginning of this episode that we at Laughing Vikings, we'd like to acknowledge that right now here in Toronto, we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. And we also want to recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and in the Inuit people here in Canada. And I think that sort of generally goes to the Indigenous people of the world. So I think we very often forget that countries have been formed often through wars and through violence and awful bloody things. throughout history. And I think that's something that we can change. And the only way we change that is by actually acknowledging some of our bloody past so that we can remember and honor the people who are still here and still affected by that. And also hopefully make sure it's something that is never repeated. So again, thank you. Thank you for that. And we acknowledge it, all of you.
Yes. Okay. So, Lars.
We're going to dive right into it.
We're diving right into it. Unless you want to. Well, I will say the Leafs did lose Game 7. I am very upset.
Right. Yeah. But the good news is you're here today. Because
I am here today. I'm very excited for today's show.
If you listened and watched last week, episode 35, you would have seen an epic rant, a horrendous rant from Brandon talking about how the Leafs had lost game 5 and 6. Yeah, because they were up 3-1. So it seemed like they had it in the bag and then they blew it. And you were very hot. I've never seen you this passionate, actually. That's the most, aside from when you're on stage or in a certain audition, I've never seen you that in the moment and feverish and emotional and passionate. And then they lost Game 7 last week, but you're here. I was a little concerned. I was giving you like one of the helpline numbers to be. There should there be a Maple Leafs fan? Let's do a sketch that's a like suicide prevention help watch for lifelong.
If you're a Leafs fan, please directly call this number.
You are certainly not alone. You will be connected with another person who has had their heart broken year after year after year.
Just connects you to another random Leafs fan that you could rant together, complain together.
Right. And
cheer together, rant together, complain together. Leafs
certainly don't want to I don't want to pretend that suicide isn't a heavy thing for a lot of people out there, but I also want to acknowledge that being a Leafs fan is a very grave matter as well, and I don't know how you do it. I don't care personally at all. Win or lose, if they win, great. I like I like watching hockey when it's with friends. I love it when a city is united by something, whether it's the Blue Jays, Raptors, Leafs, or any other thing going on. And certainly we could have used that this year. I feel like the Leafs, especially as patios open and bars and restaurants open, that would have been great if we got to celebrate the beginning of the summer with a Stanley Cup. But
hey, and hopefully soon. I have faith that eventually it will happen. I know it will happen.
Right.
I believe that it will happen sooner than we think.
If you had to bet all your money, all of your assets right now, that it happens in your lifetime, would you?
Like just in my lifetime? It doesn't matter.
The Leafs win a Stanley Cup before you die. Decide right now, bet everything you have.
Yes. Everything I have. Everything I have.
Is that because you don't have much, or is that because you really believe? So let's project a year. We'll project a year forward. You land your biggest role, your lead star, making lead money on a hit sitcom. Now, and the Leafs in the next year, they haven't won, and then someone approaches you, hey, all your Hollywood money. Hey, Hollywood, you want to bet all your money on your lifetime that the Leafs win? Would you? I don't know that you would. See? Oh, that's so sad. Right now, you're like, oh, would I or wouldn't I? Like,
I mean, it's my fandom and then my dream.
True.
So, like,
I mean, it is a big gamble one way or the other. True.
Like that's not really a comparison, really.
Right.
I mean,
bold risk.
Yeah.
I mean, it would kind of be a stupid thing to do regardless.
Sure.
Don't bet all your money ever on anything. Except you. Bet it all on you. But never bet it all on the Leafs. Come on.
No.
Come on. All right. Should we get into this here?
Let's get into this, Lars.
Right. So this is obviously acting is a really unique thing in the professional business because, I mean, whether it's professional or amateur, and that's because it's a race with a lot of competitors, and to be cast in the role, only one gets it. And I've heard numbers like 5,000 people get submitted 600 people get seen, or like the ratio is basically 10%, 10%, 10% of all the people who are submitted. 10% are either able to audition or submit a self-tape. Of all those people, 10% make it to callback, and then only the winner gets the role, which means most actors' lives are spent not getting roles. So then the question becomes, how do you continue to be successful and happy and to express yourself through the art when you're technically don't necessarily have a job, quote unquote. So we're going to talk about 7 ways that you can do that when you're not on set or when you're not on stage for something that you've auditioned for. So step number 1, or thing number 1, is to just act. Just act. See, a lot of actors and performers and artists in general, once they make the shift to being paid for it, they often get into this weird dilemma where they only do it if they're going to get paid, and then they lament all day long when they're not given a role, and then they're going all these weeks and months in between roles. But the thing is, you can just act. So you can be at home, you can be working on your monologues, you can be reading aloud, you can be writing and creating sketches, especially now social media. Like I sort of think of it as 50-50, like play the old school game of auditioning for casting directors and gatekeepers and getting jobs on those sort of dream gigs that you might consider. And then 50% of your time, build your own boats and build your own empires, meaning write your own sketches, write your own films. So find ways to act in between. And I think that's something that people really forget. They just sit around and complain and be like, oh, I haven't acted in forever. And especially that it's so ridiculous, because you think at its roots, it's a very childlike thing. It's a very playful thing. So to go like, oh, it's been 6 weeks since I acted. Well, what does that mean? It means 6 weeks since you decided to have fun for a couple hours at home. Like take literally schedule that, whether it's with other actors, or if it's just literally reading out loud or reading a monologue. I'm
just posting in the comments section right now a site that I like to go to for scene work. It's Acting Scenes. It should be on all platforms at this point. It's called PH Playhouse. It is fantastic. I highly recommend it. And I'm also going to post another one for
Here I am. Where'd he go? Oh, Brandon left us. I was also going to say I'll hold down the fort while Brandon's gone. He'll be back, I'm sure. Oh, there he is. That was quick. Wow. So quick. I didn't even have a chance. I was just like, I'll hold down the fort while he's gone. And then
I trust you to hold down the fort.
And then you're back. It'd be funny if you left and then for like 10 minutes, it was just, hello?
Where did you go?
So what were you saying? You were going to show that?
I'm going to post another one, which is Monologues for TV, which is also a fantastic site. It gives you the entire monologue. I really like both of these sites.
Right. And this sort of comes under the category of why would you ever, it makes no sense that you would ever let someone else in your life stop you from doing the thing you love. Now, I understand some of you would be like, no, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, I'm trying to get paid to do this. I'm trying to make this a career. We'll talk about that. But in the meantime, if you're not being paid for it, it should be something that you love. If you don't really love to do it and you only want to do it when you're getting paid, then I would question why you're in this. Maybe you're in it only for money, and you got to be really good to get to that level where you're making tons of money. Or I don't know. I completely lost my train of thought. You ever go down a rail and then you're like, there's no rest of the bridge here. I don't know where that sentence was supposed to go. It's just should be something that you continue to do, and you don't let other people, if you're an actor because it brings you joy and you love expressing yourself and you love being a storyteller, maybe you love the community of a cast and everything like that, then do it. Whether someone gives you permission or money to do it or not, just find time to do that. And I would say that's the number one thing that you could do is just be acting. If you want to be acting on stage and you're not happy when you're not on stage and you're not on set, then just make your own shit.
Yeah. Don Cheadle always says like, script work is free. Read scripts, read what you can, and like always be doing script analysis. so that you're always constantly working that muscle, because like you need to identify these things as quickly as possible. And so the more you're doing that, the more you're building that muscle memory for when you have the audition. So even if you have an audition for 6 weeks, you're ready to go because you've been doing the script work. You've been working on scenes. Again, as the more you love this and the more you're willing to do, the better things will be for you in the long run.
Right. And our acting coach, Tom Todoroff, one thing that he often says is monologues. People often ask, well, why would I work on monologues? I've never asked for TV and film to deliver a monologue. It used to be when you're auditioning for certain theater productions, that would be a pretty common thing to bring in certain monologues of varying styles. And what he always tells us is musicians have scales and rehearsal pieces that they can work on, and they do it over and over and over again. But actors, well, what is it? It's words, it's text, it's script. So, and especially something like Shakespeare, people are scared of Shakespeare often, or a little resentful for the old language, or there's a stigma towards it sometimes. But that's the kind of language, like if you can rip Shakespeare, then Tom always says you can rip the lawyer speak, the doctor speak, the technical mumbo jumbo, maybe the scientific sci-fi speak, like all that jargon, to have the voice and the breath work and to be able to score a text and deliver that much text. That's the stuff. And then often too, he says, if you're not working on that stuff, how would you ever expect, like, it just doesn't make sense, especially if you're still in a boat where you're not getting as regular auditions. If your auditions are kind of few and far between, say even 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, or some people, I've heard actors be like, oh, it's been 3 months since I got an audition. If you're still at that phase, then you got to be sharp when that comes along. It makes zero sense. Like, it makes zero sense that you would get that job after not doing anything for 6 months. It would be like any other profession. If you were to go out and hire a plumber and be like, okay, I want to hire a plumber, but first I want to give you a little test. So I put together this sink system or a toilet here, and I need you to do a little work. And one plumber hasn't touched a wrench in 3 months, and the other was doing it every day. Obviously, the guy doing it every day is going to do a better job at it because he's a pro, and all those muscles are right there. He's sharp. So I think that's the thing to do as an actor. And it doesn't matter as an actor or any other profession or any other art. It's like you want to stay sharp so that it's just there to call on a moment's notice. And the reason that's important is you get to a certain point where maybe it has been a little while and maybe you haven't been on set or on stage, but that audition that comes along could be the game changer that changes your life entirely, where it's 6 figures, 7 figures. It's the dream project, and that people call it luck, but it's preparation plus an opportunity that comes along, and being the right, well-prepared actor for the right role at the right time, and boom, you never look back. So never be the person who you don't want to ever question after an audition. Be like, oh, that was a huge opportunity. If I had prepared more, would I have really, like, could I have gotten that? You don't want to be doubting yourself on prep or just being rusty. So just keep it up, keep acting. Number 2 is study. And again, that goes for anything, no matter what profession or what art you're involved in. Be a lifelong learner, be a lifelong student. In the acting world, what does study mean? It means hopefully have an acting coach, an acting teacher, take you some on-camera classes. It could be improv. It could be scene work, scene study. It could be dialects. It could be languages. It could be special skills. It could be fight combat. It could literally any human skill can be transferable. So you want to like, if learning Spanish or riding horses is something that you always wanted to do it. And then all of a sudden you can throw it on your resume and feel comfortable when Game of Thrones comes up and they need you to be the guy on the horse who's fighting while riding a horse. If you've never set foot on a horse before, you might not end up being that person, or you do, or you are, but then you just don't like your performance because the whole time you're freaking out about being anxious on a horse rather than being in the moment with your lines, or maybe it's a safety issue too. If you're, especially with things like fight combat and that kind of choreography, dance is another great thing that people can work on. But that also falls. So it's those kind of formal classes, but there's also tons of online classes these days. There's just been a ton of Zoom opportunities where now you can study with teachers in other countries who you would never have access to, and now you can get access to them for pennies on the dollar because of the way Zoom and group coaching can work. And Tom's a good example of that. In fact, we always let people know, but if you go to laughingvikings.com, their first session to Saturday workshop is free, so you can be our guest at one of those. And Tom's a guy that you wouldn't be able to work with other than the couple times that he would come to your city. He's based in New York, but travels around the world. Used to come to Toronto a couple times a year. But that was also like an intensive weekend where you'd pay whatever, 300-ish, 400-ish, kind of the standard rate for a weekend intensive. But now it's way less than that to be there every week, working and learning and joining a community that way. There's tons of podcasts, but also watch good material, watch plays, read plays, watch films, not movies. Notice I said watch films, not movies. So watch the greats, and I don't mean just like watch any movie and be like, yeah, this is me studying and I'm watching. I don't even know. I'm watching Dude, Where's My Car? Right? Like watch critically acclaimed and award.
I disagree. I think you can learn a lot from Ashton Kutcher in that movie.
It was a bad example. It was a bad example. And I love both of those guys. And if I was one of the dudes who had lost his car, I would be loving it right now. So it was
Sean William Scott that was the other guy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he's great.
So I mean, ideally you watch something that's critically acclaimed and with award-winning actors, but also, I mean, sometimes you can learn the way not to do some stuff by watching people do it horribly. Yeah. Watch a bad soap opera to learn how to do things poorly, I guess. But yeah, generally just study. That's something that you can always do, and you also feel very satisfied. This past year, I've been a person in the past. I rested on a lot of laurels and some natural talent coming from a stand-up and sketch comedy world. I never really had a problem with confidence and being big and loud, but for a long time, I never took that many classes. I was like, yeah, I know how this works. And I really didn't know what I was doing. On camera, there was a lot of technical things, eyeline wise. I think back to my original auditions. There was many auditions that I probably did okay, like performance wise, but not having any awareness of lens, the end result that they would have had to forward to casting probably would, or to production, wouldn't be good enough because I wasn't aware of eye lines or being open to camera. So maybe I did one hell of a performance in the room, but they saw the side of my face the whole time. Or I was looking at a dead body on the ground and they saw my forehead and I gave a great performance, but nobody saw it because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So just
I don't want that to be limited to just studying acting, because I think there's so much more to acting than just studying it. Right. I think you have also, I really like watching criminal videos or like criminal psychology videos. There's a YouTube channel called JCS Criminal Psychology, which breaks down the interrogations between someone that committed the crime or did not commit the crime and the police interrogating them. And then the guy breaks it down and talks about how they're doing it and how they're playing either good cop or bad cop, or how they're trying to get someone to either give them a story. Because what cops are always trying to do is they're trying to get the confession from somebody. They're not, or if they don't get that confession, they're trying to stick them to that story so that when they go to trial, they have this story that they've made up that doesn't make sense sometimes to stick them to, so that they can be like, well, this is what you said on this day. Are you saying you're saying something different now? Right. Okay, so you're changing your story. Right. So like, again, it is courtroom stuff, that's criminal stuff, that's police stuff, that's criminal stuff. Like, again, you want to know these things so that way when you get the lawyer, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. When I get the police officer, I'm ready to go. Right. When the criminal comes up, I'm like, yes, I'm so giddy for this.
Definitely ready to go.
Or like also research comic books. Like comics are huge right now. And like the offbeat comics are being picked up to be made into TV series and movies. So make sure that you're studying that as well. Like, that's very important.
Right. Yeah. I think like if in your head you want to be in a baseball movie or whatever the world is of the film or project that you want to be in, the more you know about that world when that opportunity comes along, the better chance you'll have to get in it. So look at your dream projects or look at shows that are on the air right now that you would want to be in and watch a bunch of them, especially if they're ongoing. Like if it's something that's still shooting, especially if it's shooting in the city that you're watching, that you live in, watch the crap out of it so you know it inside and out. You know the tone perfectly. You know how big and or small actors may be in certain situations, or you just know the general vibe of it. And then even when you get in a casting room or when you are cast, you show up in production, you could be like, you'd be reading a script and be like, oh yeah, this scene's great. Reminds me of the scene in episode 11 and scene 2 where like, and then you're like, oh fuck, who's this guy? And then maybe you're so perfect for the world because of the study you put into your back study that what started as a guest spot or a small arc is now written in and you're a regular part of the show just because you demonstrated that you fit.
Story of when you auditioned for Vikings, Lars, because that's actually a really good example of that.
I didn't audition for Vikings.
What did you audition for with Jason Momoa? Where you auditioned?
Oh, that's C.
That's C. Yeah. Okay. Talk about that. Which you learned Nordic for that one, right?
Oh no, that was American Gods. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So this is this story has so many lessons. I was on C. I would have loved to have been on Vikings. But I auditioned for American Gods. I was booked on it, but the role went away. I think because of weather. A few years ago, we needed winter. The scene was winter, and we just didn't get winter in this area. And there might have been other factors, but anyways, it went away. But the audition was, without spoiling it and anything, basically the audition sides were given to us in English, but then it said the character will be delivering this in Old Norse. A coach will be provided for whoever books the role, but for the audition, prepare it and deliver it in English. So I was like, okay, great. Yeah, that's no problem. I'll do my work for that. But in my head, I'm like, it's going to be way cooler if I could just belt out something that was close to that language. And if I'm the only guy that does it, then I stand out by far. Even if I'm not the only guy that does it, I've demonstrated to casting and production that I care and I have ideas, and I'm going to actually, like, you hire me, I'm going to put work into this and some dedication. So I literally Googled I didn't know Old Norse because I don't think Old Norse really exists it's a dead language now. But I Googled translated into Norwegian, current day Norwegian, and basically I went in and I did it English first. And actually, you know what happened? I told them up front. I was like, I know it said we were asked to prepare it in English, but I just to let you know, I have prepared a Norse or Norwegian version that I would like to show production today. And I was saying this to the casting director and the casting assistant in the room. Like I said, I want to, if you're game, I would like to send them a tape with me doing it in Norse. And he was like, oh yeah, that'd be amazing. No one's done that. He was like that. Yeah, of course, that would be amazing. Let's do it in English first. And I also told him, I said, I'll do it in English. I'll do it in English with an accent, and I'll do it in Old Norse or Norwegian or whatever my hybrid version was. So I went and ripped all three, and the third one was by far the best one. And I told him, I was like, I'm not even 100% off book. So I kind of had my lines out here. It was a sort of an incantation type prayer to the gods type thing, if you've seen American Gods. And but I was able to deliver it, and afterwards he was like, oh, that was fucking awesome. And the reader wasn't actually reading with me, she was just running the camera. And afterwards she was like, yeah, that was amazing, that was so cool. And I'm like, yeah, because it sounds exactly like the way the guy's going to be doing it on the day. So it's like, I know it sounds cooler. Not bragging to me. It's just like, I just knew that was going to be cooler than delivering it in English. And I also knew if I demonstrated, the closer I can show them to what I got to do on the day, the more chance I'm going to have. Because if I was casting that or producing it, seeing someone do it in English doesn't really reassure me that they can do it with the accent, because there's sounds like Old Norse. It was like grish, gorosh, gorosh, gorosh. Like it has all those like weird sounds that we don't really make in English. So it sounds different. You have to do different shapes with your mouth and different sounds. So I was like, let me show them me doing it right on the day. And that did come from the study. So I'm glad you asked that, because that falls under study. I spent extra hours prepping that, which is extra time. And sometimes there's time and stress and anxiety of doing it anyway, let alone doing it an extra or going the extra mile. But it booked me the role. But then the role ended up, scheduling wise, it ended up going away. So it was kind of frustrating because I learned it. But in my head, I won the audition. I won the role. I showed the casting director great work. And more importantly, I got the validation personally that putting more work and more love and time into something generally pays off in the long run. So it was a great lesson, even though I didn't end up on set. But sooner or later, we'll get back on set. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was great. It's still one of my favorite things. And I didn't even book it. Like, I didn't even do it. I didn't get paid for it. Yeah. And it's still a career highlight for me, which is really weird. But now I know.
That's because you like put in the work and you were satisfied with what you did. Like, you booked that role, and like, due to weather conditions, unforeseeable circumstances, you weren't able to do it. But you came in, you prepared thoroughly, 3 different ways. You were so ready to go, so hot. You were like, you were there.
Right.
No wonder the Norwegian was so good. Like, I'm not surprised. Like, the fact that you did that work, you put in that time, is just going to make you feel better.
You're inspiring me. I'm going to go back and learn more Old Norse. I might only speak Old Norse now. Yeah. Lars has gone full Viking. Right.
In 2 weeks, I come back. You've changed the side. It's not Laughing Vikings anymore. It's full Viking.
Right. And by the way, something I was thinking about earlier, and something that I have thought of, but I don't know that I've actually vocalized to people. Sometimes people ask me about the name Laughing Vikings, and they'll ask in context of Vikings traditionally were known as not very nice people. They would invade, and they're known as raping and pillaging and just stealing resources, stealing money, land, and just being like awful people. So this is our way of turning a new leaf. Maybe in the past, I'm sure I've had ancestors in the past looking like I do that have been terrible people to other people's land. And again, tying into the indigenous people. So this Laughing Vikings is a way for us to move forward, so that now for me, Vikings, I'm not spreading death when I travel around the world. I'm spreading laughter and love and performance and storytelling as Laughing Vikings, rather than the raping and pillaging and murderous Vikings of the former day. So it's about recognizing the shit in the past and then moving forward and being a little better. So nice. That was something I wanted to add. So number 2 was study. Number 3, this goes in with study, but it needs its own category. Acting is body and voice. So you have to be working on physical stuff. Maybe that's just general physical fitness. Maybe that's flexibility. Maybe that's dance. Maybe that's special skills and sports skills. But it's your body and it's your voice. Your voice and your breath is your connection to your emotions. It's the key to relaxation. It's the key to imagination. If you're feeling comfortable and relaxed in your body and your breath and your voice, then you're able to get to that flow imaginative state. Whereas if you have stress and tension in your body and stress and tension in your voice, you're not going to be relaxed. So you're never going to be able to get to the point where you're able to be imaginative and also to have the concentration in the moment where you're in front of 1,000 people. There's a million things going on. There's set, there's crew, or if you're in theater, there's all kinds of stuff happening there, set tech and wardrobe changes and all this kind of stuff. So just body and voice classes. Again, one of the reasons that I love Tom's workshop is every week we had a conservatory level voice and speech teacher to run us through a proper class. And then we have those in sort of an archive that any given day we can use those, but just work on your voice, work on your body. It's like, I couldn't say it enough. It's like 90% of it. If right now you're an actor and you haven't taken voice classes, I hate to say it, but you're barely an actor because and I'm not saying that to shit on other people. I'm saying because I am there, and I certainly was there, where I spent almost zero time, not almost zero time. I didn't spend any time. I felt I had a good voice because I used it a lot, but I wasn't ever trained properly in rate, inflection, pitch and dynamics. All those kind of things, even proper vocal warm-ups. Like how many times does someone come in to do an audition? We've all done this where you didn't even do a vocal warm-up, and then you're supposed to be going at like you're going to be delivering an 11 out of 10, where you're either going to hurt yourself or you're not going to bring it because you're not relaxed, you're not in your body, and you're not your voice just isn't warmed up, so you're not going to be able to get that level of resonance. So just, I don't know, is there anything you want to add to body and voice?
I did. Yes. I actually almost flunked out of voice class. I was so tense when I first started university at the BFA School of University for Acting. And so I almost flunked out of it. I wasn't very good at it. And it was the first time that I was like, no, I need to get better. And I started working with the TA, and we would do one-on-one classes, and like we would do one-on-one things. And so he would teach me how to do something, and I would learn it. And like it got better as it went along. It's still difficult, and there's some things that I instinctively have picked up, and like getting down to my diaphragm is fairly easy at this point. And even I think even if you just do like a couple catch breaths, which is just that immediately connects me with my diaphragm and my voice. Like it immediately helps. And so like getting those quicker reactions. And so I did have a question for you, Lars. Is there a exercise that you've really liked during the Tom Todoroff voice and speech classes that you always remember?
I don't know that there's one. I mean, just even the basic. Yeah. Okay. There's one. Yeah. And this is more body than voice. But just the simple, like, I don't know if this would fall under Alexander technique, but just using and touching all of your body, just warming up your face. Like that was like 10 seconds. Instantly, I'm right here. I'm right now. I'm fully present. Maybe a little bit more of like awareness of my space. Like that alone. If I only had 10 seconds, it would be that and some deep breaths, like probably just deep breaths while just literally doing touching every part of my body and places that aren't touched, the back of my knees, the back of my elbows, some side stretches, like just to open up diaphragm, that kind of thing. I think just people underestimate it so much, and it's diction, and it's being able to wrap your words or your lips and your tongue around a lot of words. It's breath to be able to deliver the big giant courtroom speech and not have the last sentence trail off. It's learning that in life we talk in upward inflections at the end. When we really want to drive an idea home, at the end of the sentence we go up with it. Like it doesn't die down at the end. And a lot of times actors will sort of chew on their words, or it'll get fuzzy at the end of a line. And you're like, well, I don't even know what you said. And I think we take for granted that, because sometimes when we're auditioning, we're like, well, we know the casting director knows what I'm saying. Production knows what I'm saying. Yeah, they do. But the audience, when you say it, doesn't. So if if you don't have great diction and enunciation and breath work, or this could fall in under dialects and accents and things like that too. It's like you need to be nailing that stuff, and it's huge. And Tom talks about, again, I bring it back to Tom because we've got so many stories and examples from him. But I believe he applied to Juilliard, was not accepted to Juilliard because he was a guy from Buffalo with horrible speech and had a Buffalo accent, which doesn't really seem like a classical Shakespearean accent. And I think he was told to like go work on his voice, and went and took weekly voice classes, and then went back the next year and ended up getting in and being one of the most successful students in his class, and now goes on to to be teaching voice and teaching speech to people. I just think people think that because you can talk, and it's funny because you probably never thought like, I can breathe, I talk all day.
Well, like the thing that he referenced when I got into the meeting with him was one of my journals said, "Oh, we finally started voice work today." And he was like, "You don't realize this, but we've been doing voice work this entire time." And it was just simple breathing and lying on the floor. But like, I didn't associate that with acting. And like, that's become such a core part of who I am now, is like learning the breath and learning where to space it out.
Right. So I'm laughing here because we missed a couple of comments and I got to shout them out here. Oh. This is Patrick Coppolino, who is a fantastic stand-up comedian and also runs a comedy club in Hamilton. He says, "Is that a Sears portrait studio backdrop or a close-up of Matthew McConaughey's jeans behind you?" I believe those are McConaughey's jeans.
These are McConaughey's jeans.
We advertise that here at the studio. and every audition is performed in front of Matthew McConaughey's jeans. That'd be a good band name, too. All right, give it up for Matthew McConaughey's jeans. Right? That's good. And then later on, another great question. See if we have an answer for him here. Patrick says, "How do I skip the putting in the work stuff and go straight to making 1 million an episode on a hit sitcom?" I do have an answer for that. I would say write it. And I would especially say that to you, Patrick, because you're hilarious and you're a great writer and a great creator. Your fastest ticket to $1 million, easily. And I say this with zero doubts, Patrick, and to anyone at your level, your fastest way to $1 million is to make it yourself. And I haven't gotten there yet myself, so I'm not saying this as a guy who's made something and then got $1 million for it, but I'm working on it. And I know that I'm more likely to create that role and create that project than myself than for a gatekeeper to give me the shot to play with their $1 million. So yeah, I would say so he says, how does he skip putting in the work? I don't know. Hire a writing team to write it for you, I guess. Hire Manolis. Here's the answer. Hire Manolis Zontanas to write and produce the whole thing for you, and I'm sure it'll become $1 million thing. I think just Hamilton. Yeah, that's the answer. There's enough hilarious guys in Hamilton. You guys just call it Hamilton, but it's just Hamilton. It's not Hamilton. It's
about Hamilton. Like
just Hamilton's. City? Yeah, it's just Hamilton. It's Hamilton, not the hit musical. It's just the city.
The city.
Yeah.
Is that like the first scene? It's just the clarification of that.
Yeah. Mostly the whole show is them just clarifying that this isn't Hamilton.
This isn't Hamilton, the show. This is Hamilton, the show.
Oh, well, my first idea got struck down. Patrick says, Manolis can't read. That'll never work. Yes. And we should, while we're on the topic here, little known fact, but Manolis, not a little known fact, actually, maybe a little known fact to some of our audience, but to a lot of the stand-up community, Manolis Zontanas lost his father recently, and he was in his 90s. He was the best guy. He was always very active in a lot of Manolis's sketches and behind the scenes Instagrams and stuff. And anyone who knew Manolis as a stand-up comic saw his dad a lot. His dad was sort of almost like a real life character in a lot of his stuff. So shout out to Manolis and to Patrick and all our Hamilton buddies, and to Manolis's dad. He was a beauty. Now next is what was that? What number are we on? We're on 3.
We're on 4.
4. Oh wow, we gotta hustle up with these ones. So 4, my fourth one, we kind of touched on this. Maybe we'll speed it up a bit. My fourth one is honestly just live your life. You want to be like acting, and so much of this stuff, the more acting classes, the more I learn about it, they both parallel each other. All the same things to be successful in life are the same things to be successful in an actor. Like voice and speech, for example. Like people can't hear your ideas and hear your voice, you're not going to get anything done. If your body isn't healthy and isn't, like, if you're not taking care of your body, you're probably not going to feel too good, and your life's not going to be too good. So live your life, go see places, travel when you can travel. I know that's weird now, but if you can't travel digitally and tour another country via Zoom or something. Just constantly expose yourself to new opportunities and new experiences. Tom, our acting coach, one of the things he says is actors are professional human beings. So really that's what we are. It's like we're portraying all these different versions of humans professionally. So to do that, you kind of got to really know humanity and sociology and archaeology and psychology and all these things about humans. So just, I think the more informed your life is, and then also I think that helps you realize, like, if all your life is obsessed with only acting, I mean, that might work out for you, but there's a lot of other stuff happening in life that you might miss out too. So I think like for me, it's not like I'm not walking around here like I must act. It's a huge part of me and I love it, but I also love doing a lot of other things and I like learning a lot of other things. So I think living and traveling and experiencing and taking time off, if like you could see downtime as woe was me, where are my auditions? Or you can seize the day and enjoy yourself and spend that 3 weeks on some other side project or side hustle, or God forbid, spend some time with your family. Like there's other ways to do things. So just like,
and I'll also couple that with people watch as well.
Big time.
Again, we are professional human beings.
Big time.
So just park yourself on a park bench. Just go to a mall when they're open, if they're ever open again.
Right. Or sometimes go to the Hard Knocks area of a town, like especially for some characters, man. You walk around Moss Park or somewhere like that. I mean, yeah, it's just like you'll get, or
like you're not making stereotypes, you're making real people.
Yeah, and you can see, and it also will remind you, I mean, for comedy and drama, it's like you can see the most hilarious things on a day-to-day basis just watching strangers at the mall or Young and Dundas. And you can see the most dramatic things, like you see a couple screaming and yelling, or you see a guy ranting and raving to no one. And it also reminds you, like, for any of those voices of, oh, you're too big, or that's too big, or everything's got to be small. Life is fucking crazy sometimes. You watch what people do in life and you're like, sometimes to the point where you're like, I can't believe that guy is a real guy. Like, that guy really exists. He at some point got up in his house, maybe looked at himself in a mirror and was like, yep, I'm going with this today. And that's what he brought out into the world, where you're like, wow, that energy, that vibe, that hairdo, that style, whatever it may be, is like, that's just, yeah. And so, yeah, live kind of falls under study as well. And next one is
5. Sorry.
5 is teach. And I think this is, no matter what it is in life, I think if you're spending part of your time voraciously learning and or growing, which usually you're doing, that's why learning feels good and studying feels good, is because you're growing, and that's a human need. If we're not growing, we feel stagnant, we start to get depressed, we start to feel unhappy, and we don't know why. And it's just because we're the same person year in, year out. So teach other people. And as an actor, that could mean teaching kids. That could mean if you have a special skill like voice, singing, dance, you're teaching side dance classes. And for 2 reasons. One is whatever you teach, you tend to learn it better. So that's why I love the combination. One of my favorite things is on Saturdays, we have our Saturday acting workshop with Todoroff. Then often I'll have sessions right after where other actors are coming in. So I just learned a bunch of things, and I immediately, not all of it, but I immediately get to download some of that information to another person, to another human being, by teaching or sharing an idea. And then instantly it's kind of even more solidified. So there's those reasons. It can really make it land in you. Another reason is just financially. A lot of people's side hustle is teaching whatever it is they're doing to other people.
Being a teacher in general, yeah.
Yeah, and any kind of teacher. It doesn't matter. I think it's a very noble thing. And I think there's a little bit of a stigma that goes along with the term of, like, what is it? Those who can't do teach, or something like that. Or sometimes there's a stigma of, like, well, who are you to teach? You're not like, if I'm going to learn this from someone, I'm going to learn it from only the best. And I think that's a real myth and a fallacy. And I think really, the only thing you need to do as a teacher, and I even would probably use the word coach more than teach, is to help someone get from A to B faster than they would if you hadn't helped them.
Yes.
So you don't need to be a rocket science to teach a rocket science. You don't need to be a rocket science. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to teach grade 11 science, right? But you help that kid get from grade 11 to grade 12 in that spectrum. And the other thing, being a teacher and coach, often, again, people don't want to do that because there's a little bit of imposter syndrome of who am I, or what will other people think, or maybe it happens in the stand-up comedy world a lot, and sometimes it's justified, but sometimes a comedian well on the rise themselves will teach a class on stand-up comedy, and then they'll get flack for other people will be like, oh, he's just teaching that because he's not doing well enough doing it himself. And I think that's kind of bullshit, because certainly you can help someone learn something faster if you have any level of experience. And also your best student, if you think of it this way, I've heard it said, you can always help the past you. Your ideal student is you 5 years ago or you a year ago. So all of us came, no matter what you're in, at some point you didn't know shit about it. So you were an amateur, you were a nobody, you'd never done it. If you were a comic, you'd never done an open mic. Then at some point you'd never featured. At some point you'd never headlined. Now someone like Patrick, he's headlined hundreds of shows. He's opened his own comedy club. He's done all these things, but at some point he didn't know any of that stuff. So certainly he could teach someone at least to get from who he was 5 or 10 years ago to who he was now. Maybe he couldn't help someone get to where Russell Peters is, because it's a different level, but that doesn't mean that Patrick shouldn't teach someone. That's ridiculous. So I think that's a huge opportunity for people, and just in general in life. I think teaching human beings is like, there's something about passing knowledge down that makes us all feel better. It makes our community better. And it's like, I think moving forward in the world, this is now going to be a knowledge economy and an information economy. And that means that there's going to be massive opportunities to teach and to learn. And here at Laughing Vikings, like you've imparted a lot of your knowledge, and you've helped a lot of actors here in the studio. And I would encourage others, if you're watching and listening and you want to get involved with Laughing Vikings, that has been huge. All of my teaching and directing, not all of it, but a lot of it has come working with actors here in the studio, and helping out other stand-up comics with their projects as well sometimes. But it comes from doing it in the community that you're in. So whatever city you're in, where your community is, get involved and start helping other people, and teach other people, and you're going to feel good. They're going to feel good. And at the end of the day, you're going to feel like you're actually doing something worthwhile for you and humanity. So worst case scenario, there's that. At the end of the day, be like, hey, I did something good for the world. What is this? Number six? Number six is join a team. Team, community. Great one. I avoided this for a long time as a stand-up comic. It's very lone wolfy. Even as an actor, it's not like you're working for one company with employees and a team of people around you all the time. Sometimes you are, and you're lucky if you're in a long show or you're in a theater repertoire company. But for the most part, you're a lone wolf mercenary. So you got to find ways to join a team. Here we have an amazing community at Laughing Vikings. Maybe that's your community theater. Maybe you start your own group. Maybe that's an online group that meets once a week to do readings or to do Zoom reads. Maybe that's just a Facebook group.
Yeah, there are Facebook groups for Zoom reads.
Right.
We'll just join one. Yeah.
Maybe it's team that's not even related to acting. Maybe it's just a fucking volleyball team, just to go have a little sense of community and competition too. I think that falls in.
Getting that drive is always hard to pick yourself back up again, kind of thing. So like, yeah, if you can go do a sport or like something competitive, right, that's great as well.
Right. And that a sport can also, I mean, it parallels an artistic form, but that sport can be the thing that you're learning. Like that's what you're doing for your body. Sometimes maybe that's helping with your breath and voice as well. If it's cardio, you can be studying that and learning the mastery of that. Then you can also be teaching it. So it's sort of, there's a lot of parallels there. Where were we? That was team. I would just, one caveat, be very careful of the team that you're joining, and make sure those are people who represent values that you want to be around. And ideally someone like, hopefully you're the least successful and most uninformed person in most of those communities, so that you're constantly up leveling. If you ever reach the point where you're always perceived as the smartest dude, and you're never around people who are at different levels, then you're probably growing stagnant. So, and also really positive people as well. If you're like misery loves company. Right.
Like someone that's on your side is going to be happy even if they competed for the same role as you, right? Like if we competed for the same role, I would be so happy that Lars got it, because again, I know that it's going to someone that I respect and know is going to do a great job with it. That's the only thing that matters. Doing the best part possible is what matters. And like for you, again, builds confidence, helps you move on from different things. And like the more you give, the better you're going to feel. But like, again, if I competed with Lars for a role and like, again, he won, I would be ecstatic for him because I respect him as an actor. I think he's fantastic. And I know he'll bring it when he goes on set.
Right. And I mean, we say competed with, but it's like, technically we are competing, but technically we're also, it's like you're just competing with yourself, because it's like you're only like, you're going to get the maximum performance out of yourself, and the chips will fall where they may as far as who they cast, kind of thing. So it's we're competing, but also we're kind of not as well. But like all we can ever do is bring our best to a scenario. But yeah, it's also misery loves company. So I would just say actors love to moan and groan about, oh, it's slow, or oh, my agent, or oh, this script, or oh, the writing, or blah, 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 blah. Like that doesn't get you anywhere. So just be very, very mindful of that. Strive to be the person who, if you can, be the person who switches that around and gets that person back on the right track. If you can't, you need to slowly disengage from that, or limit your time around those people. And that's family and friends, family and spouse, sometimes harder too, but you kind of got to at least limit your exposure to that kind of stuff if it's a problem, or have a tough conversation with that person. Be like, hey, listen, I love you. I love being around you, but let's figure out a way to make these conversations positive and growth oriented and future oriented, rather than us like how we're talking right now isn't helping. If you're just like this, and we've all done that. Like none of us are perfect. There's been plenty of times where I've over drinks. Class A actor thing is see someone in an audition and then you grab drinks afterwards and you sit around drinking, complaining. Like that's
well, I mean, there's the old saying, if you want to hear an actor complain, give them a job. And like that shouldn't be the narrative.
That too. Yeah. So just also like that falls under the category of gratitude. And also like, if you're complaining about this, get off your fucking horse. Think about how ridiculous, and I've told this to the people before. I'm like, you know how ridiculous you sound complaining about your job as a make-believe storyteller when like literally someone's entire family is on fire right now. Literally right now, somewhere in the world, themselves and their whole family is on fire. And you're like, oh my blah, blah, blah play. Like, give me a fucking break. Like this, like we should be so lucky. Imagine how lucky we are that we live in a world where we have all this technology, and literally what I do for money is I make believe and play pretend and tell stories. Like it's actually insane when you think about it. It's amazing, but it's ridiculous. It's very privileged. So if you're complaining about it regularly, ask yourself, why are you doing it in the first place? Like doesn't make sense. Like you're just doing it to complain and moan and groan that you're not at whatever fake level you've decided is the level that you need to be at. And that's hard because, and we all do this. I've done this at times in my life where I would say it's probably happened in the last year where I've initially gotten something and it's an opportunity that at some point in my career, former years ago, I would have been fucking thrilled and pumped. Like we'll call it a smaller role or maybe a lower paid job as a stand-up, or a stand-up gig that has a smaller audience. Like there's this false narrative of everything we get needs to be steadily bigger and better and bigger and better, bigger roles, more lines, more money. And then you get to the point where you're never satisfied. And it's a fine line. Like I've heard people say, like, always be happy, but never be satisfied. So you always kind of have a little bit of the hunger, but certainly don't be negative and moaning and groaning. And that's just like, if you've learned anything about law of attraction or abundance, the worst thing that you can do is complain about what you don't have, because that is literally the vibration and the reality that you're attracting to you. Because you're originally saying, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have this, I don't have that, I wish I had that, I want that, I want that, I want what he has, I want what he has. And what you put in the universe is lack, I lack, I need, I want, I need, instead of I have. That's so funny. Look what we just got. We just got a comment as I'm saying that. That's so fucking perfect. This is an example. So we just got spammed by a spam bot. Literally, want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers. Wow.
That is perfect timing.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Where should I throw my money? Maybe that's the ticket. It's not about.
Have we
it's not about.
The link yet?
God forbid I take some classes or work on my body, work on my breath, and learn some stuff and join a community.
I hate how this is the first comment we've gotten from Twitch. Like this is the very first comment we've gotten from Twitch.
Shout out to KKT6TTTTTTT44.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's give this person a prize. If you're watching right now, we're gonna send you a Laughing Vikings mask right now, because despite the fact that seems like a bot and is entirely antithetical to everything we've been saying today, you're our first Twitch, and I have a personal thing. No matter what it is, if it's a first time thing, I'll put a little more weight into doing it. So message us, and you'll get a Laughing Vikings mask. All right, get that person out of here. Okay. But so thank you KKT6TTTTTTT44. That's amazing. Okay,
and moving on to number 7.
I just want to point out, great handle, great screen name, very catchy, rolls off the tongue. KK6TTTTTTTTT44.
Oh, it really rolls off the tongue. So easy to say.
Do you think KKT6TTTTTT43 was taken? And then he was like, oh shit, I guess I'm number 4. Like he worked his way up 40. He thought he was going to be the first one, and then he had to go 44 deep. All right, what were we saying? That was team. Join a team. And if you want to join Laughing Vikings team, go to laughingvikings.com/join, or just hit us up and ask us how we can help or how you can be a part of this team. The final one, you're going to love this, and I'm going to love it, is love. And it kind of falls... 7. It kind of falls under this. If you're like, okay, 7 ways for actors to stay in the game, fucking love what you do. Love your life in general. Every project and every audition that you approach it with love, which, as Tom says in our classes, love makes time, love takes time.
Yep.
Meaning, if you really love something, you're willing to make the time for it, and you're willing to take the time for it. Mm-hmm. And if you're always trying to take the shortcut, and you're always bemoaning like, oh, I got to learn this, I got to do this, then how much are you really loving it? And that was an example of what, like that example earlier in the episode when we were talking about me learning Old Norse or Norwegian. I fucking love that. I love doing it. As I was looking up, it was cool. As I was looking at these weird words that I'd never seen before, it was fun saying them. I was giving these incantations to the sky god in this weird language. Like, it was fucking cool, and I loved it. And also that love, not just for the craft, but love yourself first. Part of it doesn't matter what we're doing, man. Like if you've got either self-esteem issues or just deep issues about your own worthiness, it's very, very hard to reach any level of success, because even when you do, you sabotage it. Or when you have loving, supportive people in your life that are giving you love and support, you'll fucking fuck that up by turning it around and not believing them because you don't believe it yourself. So and also obviously love other people around you. Like you've never heard someone be like, oh, like I want to like, it's just, I forget what I was going to say. I was going to say, like, you've never heard a guy say like, oh, I love that guy so much, but like, it's impossible when you love something. It's impossible for it to not go well. It seems like, because you love it, they love it. There's just a spirit. And this seems very like, maybe if this seems woo woo, or like, oh, Lars is getting all like lovey dovey. It's just like, no. And everyone knows this. At the end of our lives, what do we think back to? You're going to think on your deathbed, you're going to think about the people that you loved and the people that hopefully loved you back. And that's probably going to be most of it. Like, you're not going to be thinking, oh shit, I wish I had more time to study for that audition that I didn't get, or I wish that casting director had cast me in that thing. It's all going to come down to, did people love you? Did you do the things that you loved throughout most of your life? And hopefully your answer to that is yes at the end of your life. Anything else you want to add to that love fest?
Yes, there is one more thing. Check casting websites. So almost every day I check Casting Workbook. I check Actors Access. I don't really check Mandy.com anymore, but Mandy.com for non-union actors is fantastic.
Right.
Star Now is also a great website. I will link all of these up before I leave this room.
Facebook groups. Yeah. Let's do that real quick. Like, all those digital spaces, backstage.com, follow on social media, curate your social media instead of seeing all the people that you complain about. When you see them, you're like, oh, that fucking guy, what's his problem again? Follow accounts that are like acting related, or podcasts, or acting teachers. So your Instagram, your Instagram, what's it called? Your Instagram stories, or what's it called? Feed. Your Instagram feed is filled with teaching and acting and inspiration, or even things like screen to script, or what is it, script to screen, or something like that. It's an Instagram account where it's like iconic movies, but they roll the scene, and then
my favorite is Movie Facts. Facts.
All that stuff, man.
Or even checking IMDb for like going through their top 20 250 movies list. Like, that's always great.
ACTRA, if you're a member of a union, like, go to their website and look at all the resources. There's tons of resources.
Check what's filming in your area.
Right. Yes.
ACTRA posts a list of what's filming, what dates they're starting and finishing. Sometimes they don't have the finishing date or the starting dates, and also who's casting it. Great way. Please check that site. I am posting that right now.
And you can always also work on your materials, right? If you don't have your best foot forward with demo footage, then get that stuff together. If you need new headshots, go get that stuff. You can always be making relationships with people. You can be DMing the fuck out of people these days. Again, you want to be tactful about how you do that, but it's like everyone is a DM away these days, or an email away. So the world is way more open, especially communication wise. So it's like there's not as many gatekeepers. So just the worst thing to do is to sit back and wait for an audition and think that that's going to get you what you want. Nobody in life got what they wanted by sitting around waiting for an email to come in telling them, hey, here it is. I mean, maybe there's a few exceptions, but I don't think generally.
Yeah, there's people that get lucky, but again, you don't want to be the person that just gets lucky. You want to be the person that loves this and does the work for it.
There's no book that just says like, sit back and do nothing. How I got everything I wanted by waiting.
I bummed my way into an acting career.
How I got everything I wanted by waiting for an email to be sent to me. No, you get everything you want by going and fighting for it and going to get it, and you work hard for it. But also balance. There's a little bit of zen to balance with that, of letting go, and also trusting that if you're doing certain things, if you're so anxious and so clawing to the next realm and to the next rung in the success ladder, often that repels people and repels things from you. So you kind of got to balance the hustle and the grind and the go with letting go and just trusting, you know what, like if I'm studying and if I'm doing a certain rhythm of habits day in, day out, week in, week out, and I'm loving it and enjoying it while I'm doing it, and I'm studying and learning and I'm doing all these things, you just kind of got to trust that it's going to happen. But more so than trusting that you're going to ever reach the destination, trust that if you're doing it properly, the process and being in the game, that's why we called this stay in the game. It's the game that's the joy. That's what I talked about earlier. It's the fact that we get to play in this game as an artist. It doesn't matter what your art is or what profession it is. If you're doing something that you love, you already won. There's no destination. You just got to set your life up on a daily basis so that you're doing things that you love and that you enjoy, hopefully that are contributing to others as well. And that you're growing throughout that. You can't, if you just do, no, it doesn't matter what it is. If you just do the same thing every day at any level for the rest of your life, at some point you're gonna want to put a gun to your head. So you got to continue to evolve and grow, but just make it happen yourself and create the game. You want to stay in the game, create the game yourself.
Yes,
play the game, pick all your friends to be the players with you, create your own venue. Do all of that stuff so that you never have to be invited to someone else's game. It's like, it is a game. And when you were a kid, you didn't probably, with rare exceptions, you probably didn't wait for another kid to invite you before you started using your imagination and playing. Maybe you got rejected when you went to ask, can I play in your game? Or maybe you didn't get invited to play in some games because that's just how kids are sometimes. But you didn't just not play. You weren't like, well, I'm not having fun today because little Jimmy didn't invite me to play in the sand pit. No, you just wandered off into the other side of the playpen and you made up your own stupid stories yourself. Go to the swings. Go to the slide. When in doubt, just find a pile of dirt and just go play in a pile of dirt. It's fun. Man. Create something. Just go create a mound of dirt and be like, dirt art. Ta-da! Look what I made today.
It's a mound.
Totally. I think we did it. We covered a lot here today.
We did.
We should wrap it up. We also want to be letting people know, speaking of creating your own game, here at Laughing Vikings, we teased it last week, but it's going to be, we're steamrolling forward as things continue to open up and as COVID restrictions ease and outdoor gatherings and shows and performances are happening. We got Comedy Alley. We're going to be having some boutique, very intimate comedy shows, maybe some theater shows, improv, music, a little bit of all that stuff. I think we might have a monologue night too. I would love to have a little monologue night. So in the meantime, you can get a copy of my debut stand-up album that I released last year called Silly Goose. But the reason I'm bringing it up is if you go to laughingvikings.com/sillygoose, you'll get a copy of the album, but you'll also get notified about our live stream shows and the upcoming tickets to our live shows here at Laughing Vikings in Comedy Alley. So stay tuned for that stuff, but go to laughingvikings.com/sillygoose, and that will ensure that you hear all about it. And if you're a stand-up comic, you're probably going to be hearing from me to be on the show here, especially if you're one of ours in our community here. You've probably already seen Comedy Alley, so it's going to be good. And I mentioned that we're going to have a gift today. I think the gift at the end of the show has got to go to our audience member of the week. And he's not just an audience member, he's a fantastic performer himself, one of the funniest guys ever. Patrick Coppolino, you have a swag combo coming your way. And you can sport it when you're walking around town in Hamilton. Maybe you can start Laughing Vikings Hamilton, but we'll send you one. Thank you, Patrick. Yes. And again, shout out to Manolis. Also, we wanted to, again, recognize our Indigenous friends as well. And we'll continue to make note of the land acknowledgements at the beginning of our events too. So fantastic show. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. As always, hit us up on social at Laughing Vikings. Probably Instagram is where you want to be, but you can listen to this podcast. If you miss us live, listen to it on all the podcast platforms. And join us live every Monday at 6 p.m., and you can be a part of the show just like Patrick did. He got his 2 cents in several times, cracked some jokes, and at the end of it, he's going home with a Laughing Vikings t-shirt and mask. So I don't know what else you want in life other than what we're delivering. But if there is something, let us know. Send us a note and consider it a digital suggestion box. We're listening.
And to close us out, Lars, we're going to try to inspire your week with a very fantastic quote from the wonderful movie Rocky. Every champion who was once a contender, who refused to give up. Remember that.
Nice. Now we need to redo that in a sly. Say it again.
Okay.
Every champion was once a contender who refused to give up.
Hey,
Ah!
kid, every champion was a contender who, what was I saying again? I've been hit a lot of times in the head. Yeah. Hey!
That's good.
It's getting there. It's
Yeah.
getting there.
We're
That's a
working
great
on
quote.
it.
That's perfect.
Continuously work.
Yeah. Say it again. Say the quote again. I want to hear it one more time.
Every champion was once a contender who refused to give up.
Every champion was once a contender who refused to give up. So when in doubt, just don't give up. Like that's the thing. I sometimes hear that they're like, "Yeah, I'm thinking of getting out of acting, or I think I'm quitting." I'm like, "What are you?" Or even in stand-up, I'm like, "What do you mean? What are you even quitting? Like, what is there to quit? Like, you're just like you're not gonna have fun anymore. Like, you're not gonna like make joke. Like, what do you? There's nothing to even like. So there's nothing to quit.
Yeah,
I don't think
there's nothing to quit. Stay in the game, everybody.
Stay in the fucking game. What, you don't like playing games? You don't like games? You don't like having fun? Some gatekeeper didn't give you permission to have fun in their game, so you're sad and wah. Go make your own game. Fuck that guy. He doesn't want to have a part of you. He doesn't want to put you in his thing. Don't worry about it. Just go make your own thing.
Yep.
And if you can't make your own thing,
enjoy your week, everyone. Have a fantastic one. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you tune in next Monday at 6 p.m. when we do this again live.
Oh, yes. And you know who's going to be here? Nitish Sakuja is going to be here. Yes. Fantastic stand-up comedian and actor. Laughing Vikings OG member here. I think, he's going to be here that's June 14th. He will be 14th. Here.
We'll mark down the days.
Nitish.
Thank you and have a fantastic week.
Goodbye.